Shout out to USARK and all USARK members. If you don't know what USARK is, don't be ashamed. Just go ahead and click the third link in the description below. See what USARK is all about, okay? You never know when legislations are going to hit your backyard, so that's why it's very important to consider becoming a USARK member today. These numbers really do matter, and they look at it for consideration when it comes to battling legislation. So first and foremost, thank you, Phil Goss. Thank you to anybody out there who partners up and volunteers with USARK organization. Thank you for anyone out there who's a USARK member. And if you can't become a USARK member today, please talk about it on your platforms. Let your neighbors know, let all your pet stores know what USARK is here for, and it's here to fight for our animal rights. Thank you to every USARK member and USARK supporter out there. True.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Trap Talk Reptile Network, the coolest reptile network in the world. Episode 584. It's the very first All on the Tree Tuesday of 2025. Bill, of course, made it to sound check. Marshall made it to sound check. We are off to a good
Boom!
Woo!
What's up, Bill?
Happy New Year, boys.
What's up, buddy?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's to
Good
everyone
to
out
see you
there.
again.
Man.
On a 2-week hiatus. I was getting lonely.
Yeah. How'd you guys?
Yeah.
What'd you guys do on your time off?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, a lot of no good. I'm back. Glad to be back on a schedule.
Okay, well let's start with you, Marshall. How many goddamn eggs are in the incubator? How about that?
So I just counted before the show because I figured you might ask, and started off with 44, and I've tossed. Ends up that all the ones I've tossed were slugs, but I've tossed 8, I think. So I got 36 good vein development throughout the last one that looked kind of moldy tonight, and it was a slug. You know, no veins. Candled all the rest of them for the first time, and yeah, I got I think 25 from that clutch, which was the. Y'all will remember was a one and done breeding, and it looks like there's 27 in that picture, I think, or 26, and there's 25 good ones. That's the female.
What clutch?
And then
what clutch are you feeling better about? Like which ones are looking better so far? As
I mean, at this point, all the eggs that are in there, I think should go the distance. They're all look healthy, no spots or anything on them, good vein development. That clutch, the larger of the two, surprisingly has had the fewer amount of slugs. I think I've only thrown 2 out from that clutch, and the other clutch, which was 17, I think, to start with, it had like the boob egg. That one was sired by Versace, and I've thrown probably 4 or 5 of those out. So I think I've got 13 left out of 17, something like that. So yeah. Pretty excited about it. We'll see, still a long way to go, but things are certainly looking up. 36 would be a lot more than I've produced in the last 5 years combined, probably.
My man is back.
Yeah. Okay, well, before we get to Bill, I got to ask you, how do you feel about the fucking substrate you chose this year?
Man,
you feel great? You feel okay?
What'd you say, Bill?
I said, how do you pronounce that substrate?
Vermiculite, right? Am I saying it right?
No, vermiculite.
Oh, vermiculite. My bad, bro. Okay, hold on. I want to get it right. Please teach me. How do you say
Mick,
yes.
like Mickey Mouse? You
it,
like?
Okay. I'm not that
vermiculite.
Vermiculite. Did I say it right?
There you go.
Like,
that's right.
Aluminum.
No,
aluminium.
Anecdotal took me a long time to figure out. Like,
Anecdotal.
That was fucking definitely hard. All right, well, listen, we're rooting for you, Marshall. Okay, hold on. Also, albino update. We need that. That's very important. Is it alive?
Albino doing good. It has not taken a big shit yet, but it did drop a big chunk of urates the other day. So, I don't want to jinx anything, but knock on wood, I'm as optimistic as you can be about it.
All right, good.
So,
We're rooting for you on that one as well, obviously.
well, appreciate it. Yeah, it's going to be what it is. So, keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah, can't say it better than that. What's up, Bill? What's going on, buddy? How's the breeding season? It's been 2 weeks. I'm sure people want updates.
Yeah, things are going great. I'm like Marshall. I never count my chondros before they hatch, but off to a good start. 15 eggs in the incubator, 3 other females that have ovulated, and a couple more look like they're moving in the right direction. So
3 more females ovulated.
3 have ovulated. Yeah. One of those is a female up at Buddy's place. We've done this joint pairing before. And then I've had two females ovulate here, and another couple that are off feed, good follicle size. So moving in the right direction.
Damn. Okay. And so you have the 1 clutch already. It's in the incubator, right?
Yeah. 1 in the incubator.
What day is that on now?
I'm about halfway through. I'm about day 25.
And how those eggs looking?
They all look good.
Fucking A.
Are you ultrasounding regularly now, Bill, or was that just kind of a one time deal?
I wouldn't say regularly, but yeah, I usually ultrasound a couple times each season, just to kind of see where we are.
Okay. I didn't know you did that as a part of regular practice.
I've had the last couple of years. It really, it hasn't changed anything really. I mean, it's so different with the green trees versus ball pythons, because really until they ovulate, I keep the male in there anyway. I'm always rotating a male in there until that female ovulates. But I've noticed my breeding activity has gone way down. Like the females aren't pairing anymore. I've had 11 females lock this year, and only 1 of them is continuing to lock, which in my experience has been a pretty good sign that things are going to progress in a lot of those females.
And are you ultrasounding year round or just when you cycle?
No, just when I cycle, just like
He's
maybe
seasonal.
maybe a month or 6 weeks after I've started male introductions, I'll start to ultrasound the females. But again, a lot of that is just curiosity. It really hasn't changed a lot what I've done in my practice. So a lot of it's just curiosity.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that as far as like you had that big wave of breeding activity and then it just really died down, but you still have that one pairing that is going to the distance you would say, right? Or at least trying to. But I had that last year. I think I told you that, Bill. I had that one pure BAC pairing that just all they did was lock for months and nothing ever happened.
I've had pairings like that as well. And it's almost to the point where, now I'm glad when they stop breeding. I used to be like, oh, damn, what's wrong with these things? They've stopped. Why have they stopped after 2-3 locks or like Marshall 1 lock? Why have they stopped? But in my experience, that's usually a good thing when they stop. Then next, I start to look for them to go off feed. And, so far, like I said, a lot of those females are moving in the right direction.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens day by day. What's up with tonight's guest, though? Very excited. John Irby in the building tonight.
I said in the chat, he's one of my faves, man. A guy I have a lot of respect for. Been doing it a long time. In my opinion, just does it right. He's very scientific about what he does. He's got a reason for doing everything that he does, and so I'm looking forward to tonight.
What about you, Marshall?
100% agree. Yeah, he's done it the right way, taking his time. Patience, has dealt with Nido, set up made it through that, figured out how to, get through it, and, was very, I would not have been able to do what he did as far as, we've talked about it before, different gloves between every cage, different tongs, different, like just the amount of, whatever you want to call it, protocols that he had in place to deal with that is something that I would just, I don't know. Part of me thinks I would just give up if I had to if I had to, if it was that, if it was that arduous of a process to feed the room, so kudos to him.
Yeah.
And he's also a huge fish fan. So
just the cherry on top.
So how bad could he be?
Yeah. Well, listen, he's had some recent, I guess, progress with some of these projects that are going down for him this year. So we are going to talk a lot of current stuff. I'm curious, Bill, Marshall, can you guys hear me fine? Am I okay? Can you hear me good?
I can.
I can hear you fine.
Do I sound low at all?
Normal to me, but I saw a comment in the chat that you sounded low.
But it's JP. That's why I'm not. I don't know if to take that serious or not. It's fucking coming from JP. That guy's confused all the time. I don't think. As long as you guys can hear me, we're good, right?
No, it's typical Canadian stuff.
Fucking JP. God damn it. Anyways, all right, back to business. Listen, I want to say first and foremost, shout out to tonight's sponsor, the Reptile Super Show, the #1 show in the country. Please, if you are in the SoCal area, head down to the Reptile Super Show in Pomona. It's happening this weekend. I'll be vending. A lot of my other close reptile keepers will be vending. It's going to be quite the time. Diversity at its finest when it comes to looking at a huge display of reptiles. Thank you so much, Reptile Super Show, Rami, the entire Reptile Show family. I appreciate it. Cannot wait to see you guys this weekend. And if you are going to the Reptile Super Show, drop a comment below. Let me know. Love to link up with you guys. Come by the trap booth because it's going to be one for the books. Also, shout out to Blake Exotic Feeders, #1 quail in the game. All right. If you want the #1 produced quail in the country shipped to your doorstep, all right. And if you don't want to deal with no third-party companies and get this quail straight from the source, please go to Blake Exotic Feeders right now. Go to Blake Exotic BlakeExoticAnimalRanch.com where you can place your order there, or you can just go to Blake Exotic Feeders on Instagram. Hit up Blake directly. Let him know that the trap sent you. He'll take extra care of you, man. Thank you so much, Blake, from Blake Exotic Feeders. Also, tonight's episode is brought to you by Mark Hager, Texas Chondros. Dude just had an awesome clutch today that he went ahead and dropped on his Instagram. So that's why you definitely got to go follow Mark Hager. Okay, one of the best doing it in the chondro game. All right, puts on the whole freaking state of Texas. All fellow chondro keepers are on this guy's page, man. He does it right. So thank you so much, Mark Hager, for sponsoring the trap. All right, go to TexasChondros.com. Check out his project. See what's going down this year for him. Cannot wait to have Mark here back on Trap Talk. We are having a debate. That's right. Red versus yellow. Holy shit. What do you guys think of that, man? I guess I just spilled the beans right now. Me and Mark. Okay, you know the debate I had with Patrick with the quail? Do you guys remember that episode that I had with him?
Yeah.
I got destroyed basically. Now I'm gonna go against Mark. Red versus yellows. I can't wait, dude. Can't wait. Anyways, all right. Listen, you guys ready or what? Should we bring on John? Enough is enough. I think we rambled enough. Ready for John or what?
Ready. Let's do it.
All right, guys. Out there, if you're ready to go, then do me a favor. Do what you got to do to get your mind right. Do what you got to do to stay hydrated. Episode 584. John Irby, Mid-Atlantic Arboreals, coming at you right now. Let's go. Cheers.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man.
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
Exclusive. Oh.
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, God love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it.
What's up, John?
Hey, everybody.
Did we kick MJ off? It's awesome. Just the three of us?
Holy
Yeah.
shit, there I am.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I was too busy chewing out fucking JP right now. Tell him to go fucking watch a ball python podcast and leave me alone.
Welcome back to our podcast, bro.
What's going on, man? How you doing, man? Good to have you back, John.
Hey, man, what's up? Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Happy New Year, John.
After that, like, build up, and then it was like, and then there was like the music. I was like, you know, if I was
Pumped up, right?
yeah, I'm glad I've got my clothes still on, you know.
Hey, John, I got to ask you
I
about.
was tempted. I was like, shit, that was quite the build up.
I got to ask you about that thumbnail. Did MJ Photoshop that at all, or what's the story?
That was my. I looked at this and I was like, I'll just roll with it. But I was like, that was my Halloween costume with my wife. We went as like 1980s workout people. And
Nice.
And then I was like, and then I'm like in front of a picture of like I think that was Troopers albino, you know, something like that's good.
Yeah, no, that's the thumbnail of 2025. I think that's
Okay,
David.
everybody gets the Trooper albino.
That's Damon. That's Floyd. It's Damon's albino.
Oh, that's David. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not,
We ruffled some
not mine.
we ruffled some feathers with the ones we picked last year. So this year I was hoping to piss someone off, but I didn't. Damon was totally cool with it, unfortunately. So but listen, dude, John, you have a lot popping on your end. I got a lot of pictures I'm going to be showing here in a minute. But before we do, what are you most excited about right now, my man? Let's get to it.
Well, I moved into my new my house a couple of years ago now, and so there was 1 year where I was just doing a lot of moving, and I had a slow year, and then last year I had some success, and then it looks like I'm having a nice year this year. So I'm excited for being settled in and my stuff's grooving, you know.
And I know you don't like, you're not a mass producing kind of chondro breeder. Last time I checked, like you keep it like less is more, right? Like you don't, I think the most you've typically have are like maybe 3 clutches a year, right? Or
yeah, 3 or 4. I mean, I'm trying to right now. I've got 5 going, you know, and I may pull off 4 of them, so that's nice, and that'll be a nice year for me. It's a lot of really high end stuff, so that's good. But I'm in position to do more clutches in future years. Over the last handful of years, I've kept back, you know, like a dozen females or so. So that whole fleet of girls is coming into age in a year or so.
And what happened last year, you feel like? Because you said that things didn't, like you didn't get everything you wanted last year, something like that?
Well, you know, you were talking like on your intro and some of that about the Nido and things like that, you know, so, and
It wasn't me, by the way. Marshall brought it up.
Yeah,
I don't care. I don't care. But all these holdback females and just, you know, over the years, I've really been building out and keeping a lot of stuff. And so, you know, this past year was a year I was rolling, I believe, with 100% all unproven males, you know. And so, you know, I was using all young males. And so just rolling the dice, all basically, if I had to think about it, basically all like virgin males with virgin females. And so,
how old are they? What's the age range?
Well, you know, I've got some males. Like I got a clutch now finally out of Air Force One, a male of mine, and he's a 2017, and this is the first year I got him to produce.
Wow.
Air Force One, that's his name?
Yeah.
It's a sick ass name.
Yeah, sometimes we call him Trump's plane or Barack's old plane or whatever.
Well, Marshall has left the building. I'm just kidding.
Well, John, I don't have to tell you because I've experienced it, and Marshall has too. But the move and the chondros is not a good. It's not a good, you know, mix. It's not a good, you know. I was just happy that everybody settled in. I didn't care at all about breeding. In fact, it was the only year I didn't breed or produce a chondro in almost 15 years. It was the year that I moved, and you know, I think you just, you know, thank your lucky stars that if you have animals that after a move into a new place, building, facility, that everybody just settles in, you know?
Yeah, that I actually did not produce a chondro in that year. And I was trying though. I was trying to pull off a clutch, but I also didn't slug anything out either. So I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, everything's settled in and got to a good spot.
I definitely went through that adjustment too, Bill, moving from my old house to the house I bought, even though it was only like 8 minutes away. Like it was like just being in a completely different new room, like,
For
you know,
sure.
breaking it in and shit. It took a while. I dealt with just really poor humidity, like really, really bad humidity. And I think, shout out to you, John. I think the last time I had you on, you told me about the air care humidifier that you used, right?
Yeah.
You still rock with that or no?
No, that's what you're going to see in those pictures I sent you. Is I've
Oh,
made
why don't
an
we get to it? I already have them up, so why don't we get to it? Okay,
I've
so
made an
you
upgrade.
got an upgrade, and so why don't we? So obviously, John sent me a bunch of pictures for tonight, and they're a little bit. I mean, they're not a little bit. It's all chondro heavy, but he did send me these pictures, and I'm like, dude, I don't know what the fuck that is, and I wanted to wait to ask you on the show, obviously.
Oh, I was just showing. It's like blurry. That's a humidifier, and I just was going to show that, like, underneath my sink in my snake room. Here's some of the things I've been working on underneath my sink in my sink in my snake room. I installed an RO water filter, and that part's important because it removes all the mineral content. That's not good water. It's not really a great idea to drink that water because not really. You get your vitamins and minerals because a lot of things that you eat and are made with water that has minerals in it. So there's almost no way to subject yourself to a mineral free whatever, you know what I mean? And so, but there's some fear in if you were to have a diet of an entire RO diet that you could do some leaching of your system. So it's not ideal water to drink. But anyway, back to the main point here. It's great water for a humidifier because it does not leave any kind of film or gunk. And those mist type humidifiers really put off the humidity well. I mean, they kick butt, but they'll make your room real dusty with a white mineral dust. And so anyway, now there's an RO filter under my sink, which is right beside there. I've drilled out the cabinet. And then I bought on Amazon a float valve kit, like you'd put in a toilet. But they actually make these float valves for people that put a Keurig coffee maker like next to their sink, and they tap in off the ice water line.
Got it. Okay.
And you put that little float valve in there, and you put a little inline filter to remove sediments, and then you don't ever have to refill your Keurig ever. And there are these like little miniature float valves, and so I put one of those in a humidifier, and so now I have a big industrial humidifier in my snake room that's hard plumbed on mineral free water that just stays full and rocking, set to 60%, and I never touch it ever. Like,
so how does it work? Like you made the humidifier or you bought the humidifier?
I just bought a humidifier, and I just made sure I bought one that had a nice tank shape, you know, where the shape that the tank where you would fill with water was such that I could drill the side and then mount a little float valve on it.
Yeah. I've got the exact same setup, John. I put in about 6 months ago. It's a humidifier that is attached. It's plumbed into my water from my sink. But the one thing I don't have is that filter. And I noticed that there is like a dust particle that settles on every surface. You know, it's a great humidifier. I've got it hooked up to it's called like a rain gear or rain
bird or whatever.
Rain bird, yeah, and set it humidifier at 60, and I never have to fill it up because it's plumbed into the sink, and it's just freaking awesome. Except there is this very fine particle, you know, that once a month I have to seem like I'm wiping the shelves down, wiping tables down, everything. So maybe I'll incorporate that into it.
Oh, the RO bill is only like $150. You can get them off of Amazon. Maybe if you wanted to have someone else install it for you, right? It would be a little more than that. But they're not. The point is, they're not very expensive, and it will not only solve that dust issue, but if you were to keep on down this road, you'd also need to get into like descaling that humidifier. It's going to just like you do a coffee maker. Whereas if you switch it to the RO, it'll just you might need to like disinfect it every once in a while. But even mine, because there's not a lot of minerals in that water, I look down in there and it's just so brilliantly clean in there all the time. And so because the water is just being, it's like a river. You know, a river is clean because the water's always flowing. That thing.
Are you using tap water to source your chondro drinking water?
Right. Yeah. Right now I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just got good tap water here.
Yeah, we do too.
Us too. How about Alabama? What's the tap water like in Alabama?
Yeah, we have good water.
You know, okay,
It's pretty soft actually. Back when I used to do planted aquariums, I used to have to add calcium.
John, I was about to give you hella flowers on that air care humidifier because that thing's changed my life. And I had the humidifier I used before the air care one that has those filters. I was dealing with that white dust shit big time. But then ever since I went to the air care one, I don't see that white dust shit anymore. So
if you're not going to do what I did or fill it with RO water, then the evaporative style is better because then it just evaporates. You get the air vapor, but the minerals stay in the machine. You know, they stay. You just have to clean that every once in a while by scrubbing that out.
And that's whatever. But the thing is, like, not having
unless you've got a water source, as in
that's
like a sink in the snake room, it would be hard to do what I'm describing. You would have to tap into.
My sink is right here. It's actually right out my room. But I can't think of the like, oh my God, having to have a humidifier where you don't have to fill up the water. That is like the biggest pain in the ass is having to fucking fill it up when your room's drying out. And
especially when you're going through gallons and you're dumping 5-gallon buckets in that thing and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I have the hose, thankfully. Like I said, my sink's right here and I have a hose. So I just bring the hose in, but like set it and forget it. You know what I mean? That sounds
it's awesome. I had a plumber come out and put mine, charged me $140 to install it. I think my humidifier was $200. But it has saved me so much time. It's been unbelievable.
I need to look into this. This is epic.
Yeah, and that's why I sent you those photos. That's kind of like where I'm at in my snake room these days, man. Is like I'm bored. I'm just combing through it and just finding more. I'm like, I'll just trick that out. I'll just do that. I'll whatever. I'm like automating more stuff and.
And here's the thing about figuring out the humidifying part of your room, because I think obviously chondros, other than dealing with stuck sheds, they could I guess put up with poor humidity a lot better than emeralds can. Like emeralds do not do good with poor humidity whatsoever. You give emeralds some bad humidity for a long stint and it's gonna get an RI for sure. Or it's just not gonna be doing well. And ever since I fucking figured out my humidity issue in my room, dude, like I hardly spray. Like and I used to be all crazy about spraying because I had to. But dude, I probably spray like once a week now, if that, just to spray my plants.
Yeah, I used to not worry about it, but after I started using a humidifier in there, just having some nice base level of steady humidity year round is nice. Especially the animals like it.
Especially in the winter, the heaters dry things out so bad.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was noticing tonight that normally I go through and I'll keep the bottom of my the paper at the bottom of my adult cages pretty much wet constantly just because there's so much airflow in the room. Yeah. And I'll do that in the summertime. I'll do it once a week maybe, and it takes like 4 or 5 days to dry out. And I just did it. Today's Tuesday. I did it on Sunday night, and everything in the room was just bone dry because it's been so cool. I mean, we're down in the 20s right now. So the heaters are just, everything's just running wide open. And it's amazing how quick they can dry out.
All right. Well, hold on to your locality maps. We have Ryan Young trying to outdo us about 60% humidity's rookie numbers, I guess.
Yeah. Easy to say.
He's got like 6% where he is.
Sorry, Ryan. But yeah, man, that's awesome. Now I got to ask you though, John, going into with what you're seeing this year, with the success with the pairings, like, did you do anything different other than what you've been doing? Like anything as far as changing with the way you've been feeding, or did you notice anything different with the temperatures? Like, I'm just curious if there's anything out to you.
Well, one of it is I had some males kick in. I mean, man, if you don't have a male that'll get it done, that
changes everything.
That just sucks. You're like, come on, and you've got girls that are gaining age, and you're like, trying every male you got, and all these young males they're just not ready, and that's all there is to it. Some males will go at 3.5 and whatever. So anyway, Frostbite turned on for me at 3 and some change, and so that he's actually turned into be a really nice breeder for me.
Okay, let's talk about Frostbite, because one thing I'm noticing with like my best breeder will breed until he just doesn't feel like it no more. And so usually what that means is he'll pick 1 or 2 girls, but then that third girl never goes down. Like by that time, I feel like he's over it. And I'm curious what you're noticing with Frostbite, because with a snake like that, I'm sure you're trying to put him to multiple females, right?
Yeah. And I'm, let me think about what I'll pull off probably 2 clutches with him this year. But when I say that he was like a good breed, he got 1 done 1 year. And like you said, he wasn't really interested in much anymore. Like it was that calico clutch. I was like, wow, I can't believe he pulled that off. And then this year he showed real strong interest, and I was willing to take a shot with 2 clutches with him.
I'm sure.
He's 3 years old, Sean? 3.5 years old?
He's a 2020, so now he's going to be
4,
5.
5.
Yeah. But last year, his first clutch, he was 3.5. That's a little female I produced. That's a banjo to mercury female. Both grand dams were, let me think. Yeah, they were both sky topaz females. So that, I believe. Yes. Yeah, so that's both blue snakes from Dave that went into that female. They were both really incredible blue snakes. In fact, Mercury is the mom of Frostbite and the Dildo and some of those awesome ones. She produced extremely high-end offspring.
I'm sorry. I know you sent me a bunch of pics, John, but I can't keep up. I can't remember every fucking buddy's snakes. So I'm just gonna have your IG pull up as well. Do you have?
Oh, yeah, sure, whatever. That's all good.
Do you have a picture of the parents that you just told us about on here that we could check out, or even Frostbite? Where's Frostbite?
Well, yeah, he's definitely on there somewhere. Scrolling down, he's like a blue and black male. There's that girl you just showed a picture of.
This one right here, right?
Yeah. So then keep on coming down.
Oh my God, these are so crazy.
He's probably right there on the left.
This one right here.
Yeah, that's him.
Okay.
Wicked.
Shit. Now with a male like this, right? Because obviously this male still has to grow in a sense. Like he's not like, I mean, he's pretty much an adult, but like, how are you when you're breeding a male at this age, which he's not too old? How are you feeding him while you're breeding him?
I almost feed everything about the same now, and I feed more spaced out than I used to. I feed probably every 3 weeks, sometimes maybe once a month, sometimes. But I'm feeding a really large meals comparatively to what I used to. And so it's just a kind of a strategy difference and in fact, it's not different than I used to. I've been doing this for years, but I just say that like difference from my early days. There used to be a real big philosophy that everybody would like preach that was, and it was what made sense at the time, which was around small meals often. Enrico and, everybody was crafting this bro science that we're doing here, this captive husbandry thing. I mean, right. Like Bill said, like all my ideas are grounded in a reason, but I mean, I may have made the reason up. I mean, I don't know. Some of the shit just sounds good and starts to assemble the puzzle of parts and pieces that how I go about breeding. But anyway, I don't know. The snakes seem to like it, but they're just my ideas, right? I'm a human. But Rico.
There was a time, John, when it was almost like heresy to say that you were feeding rats,
Oh, I know. And right. And so I feed rats, Yeah. And I feed rats and I feed large meals and I feed them less often. I could go into lots of like super detail about it, but in general, that's the gist.
So a big adult female, is that a small rat?
Small or a medium rat, depending on how big she is. If she's about 1,000 grams, which is a really monster female, I might feed a medium rat. But that would be a snake that was eating once a month. And that would be a snake that I haven't been able to get to breed. Like I've got some females that are, I was thinking about this earlier. It's hard to hold a snake's weight exactly the same. Like a snake's either kind of losing or gaining, you know, it's just, and like, especially an unbred female, and you're trying to like just give her a maintenance diet. But man, if she doesn't get bred a few years in a row, you're like, man, something just needs to knock a few grams off this girl. So anyway, I've got some girls that are, a little bit. So 1,000 grams is the largest female I have, though.
What are the sizes of your 2020 girls right now? Like, what are they? Are they looking like they're about ready to breed? Are they already getting paired up?
Yeah, the majority of my stuff is more like a 750 or an 800 gram female. I don't have, and I don't know whether it's the genetics I work with or just my own personal keeping preference. But, a lot of the stuff I keep is pretty petite. 700 gram females, 800 gram females are, and I understand some people would think that's a large female. But I probably have stuff that's more like 7 to 850 is probably, with about an 800 gram female, is probably the most common size of all the girls in my group. Now, that's not those 2020s. Those 2020s are probably about like 650 right now. They need another year. I'm giving them another year.
So you're kind of, you'll breed a female when she's 4 years old if everything's perfect, but most of the time you're breeding them when they're 5. Is that kind of where you are?
Yeah, and then I was thinking about this too recently. I've got kind of I guess what I do is I wait till 5, but I also don't pass opportunities up type thing. And what I mean by that is if I've got a 4-year-old female and I'm breeding everything else, and all of a sudden I see her blow up and kick her coil out to the side, I'm just one that thinks that Mother Nature, obviously she was mature enough and had the fat reserves and the whole deal. If she's got the size, I don't get into some arbitrarily chosen, like, again, this is that bro science. Who chose these numbers? Like, right? So anyway, if the snake, the one that actually matters in the decision-making process here, if the snake swells up and shows its follicles, and we're within a handful of months of my chosen number, and sure, yeah, I just throw the male and I go on it and get it done. So a 4-year-old girl, I did a 2020 girl this year, and she was 700 grams, and she blew up in the middle of it all, and I was like, oh shit. And so it was like, she was at that point where it was kind of like, if I'm going to do this, I have to do this right now. And I put Air Force One in, he locked her up one time and she shut down. He lost interest. It was over. And she laid 13 perfect eggs, and I hatched them all.
I was just about to ask you, have you had any one and dones like Marshall was just talking about? And I guess you have.
Well, and that was something else when he was saying that. You're like, what's going on? What's new with you? And you were talking about, Bill said something about a male just breeding the hell out of a girl, and he loves it when they're finally done. And man, I just have not had a lot of it doesn't feel like I've had a lot of clutches recently in the last handful of years where I've put the male in there, and it's just been, they warm up and then they breed, and they breed for weeks. And then, I've had these things where I've like caught a glimpse of a female the right way and been like, I think she's about to go. And that I've missed, or whatever. And these do or die moments, and I get these one and done locks. And yeah, I've had a lot of clutches like that, actually.
I have a one and done every year that I can remember over the last 4 years. A one and done every year. It's not the norm.
You have to roll the dice, man.
It's not the norm, but it's not that unusual either.
I think it's like perfect. That's perfect timing. I feel like that's like, it's almost like, if you could get it one and done, like you put it in just at the perfect time, I feel like.
Yeah, and I think that's what's coming. I'm milking out a few extra clutches this year just through diligent observation and, being a little skill from just being experienced and noticing the females and I think I'm going to milk out, a few more clutches than I would have normally this year, or than I would have by just blindly pairing,
Has any of your females like refused food before you even paired them? Like either you paired them late or something like that, but like they refused food and then you paired them then, or does the refusal always come after locks?
Normally after locks. I'm trying to think. They have done some crazy shit. I've had females eat before laying.
Whoa,
I've had that
really?
happen. Yeah.
Wow, that's unheard of.
I've had them do some funny things. They will go off script and somehow assemble a set of processes together that result in some fertile eggs, and you'll be like, well, that didn't go how I had no clue where we were at in the timeline. I didn't know where we were at. She was just acting weird, and I kind of thought something was up, and I got a clutch type thing. I've had that happen before.
I'm dealing with another snake that skipped her prelay shed, and it's only happened. I mean, it's happened to me 3 times now, but like obviously I know she's skipping it because she should have shed by now, and now she went from just obviously basking, not basking, to now she's very active and she's all over the place. So I don't know, man. It's weird. You're right. A lot of these, there's really no like set in stone way with these chondros. They're gonna fucking do something weird to you for sure.
Yeah.
Marshall.
Yeah, again, skipping the shed, at least in my experience, again, is not that uncommon. I mean, it seems like every year I have a female that skips her post-ovulation shed, and sometimes that'll get you in trouble. It almost got me in trouble, when I had my first clutch. I didn't witness an ovulation. She skipped her shed, but like John was saying, she was just, and MJ, you were saying, she was just acting crazy all over the cage. Just looking for a place to lay, and I said, well, either she's dying or she's getting ready to lay a clutch of eggs.
Either one.
Put an egg box in.
It's never happened to me.
Yeah. You're the one.
Lay without having a prelay shed.
Yeah.
I don't know if females, like, once they do it, if they're more prone to do it again. I can't say that I've ever had that I can remember like a female that's gone more than once where she just skips that post-ovulation shed. I can't say that, so I don't know.
I know one thing for sure, and I don't know if this is, well, actually, no, I take it back because now John just said that his snake ate a week before laying. I always know that the rule of 4, meaning like 4 weeks of refusal, you're going to see an ovulation typically. I know it's been like clockwork for me. Like 4 weeks of refusing, that ovulation's happening that 4th week or around that time.
100%.
MJ, I can't think of an adult female that I've had that's bred and then refused food like more than one time that has not gone on to lay eggs. I can't think of it.
Same.
Yeah. It's always a good sign.
For the most part, right? I mean, like, that's something that we all have to think. Like, these things are designed to make it through this process successfully.
Yeah.
Right? And through time, we have started to identify some conditions and practices that are conducive to that. And if they start looking good and breeding, I've got this girl. Her name is Lady Frost. I sent you that picture. It was one of the ones you used in your story, and that was frostbite breeding her.
Yeah,
that girl's a 27. She's 2016. Nothing would breed her. I couldn't get anything. Hold on,
you're good.
Everybody's coming home. Nobody around here is going to school these days because of all the snow. So my kids are just in party mode. They've not gone back to school since the break.
That's tight.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's just like Twilight Zone around here, man. Snow boots and people chilling.
Raging. Yeah. Is this the pairing you're talking about?
Yeah. That's all right. So that is frostbite breeding my Biak.
Yeah.
And that girl last year laid a half slug clutch, half fertiles, and it was her first time breeding. And I bred her to Showtime, clutch mate to Bill's freight train.
Wow.
And I got 6 neonates, and and I was like, oh man, okay. Well, that would be nice if maybe she's going to prove to be a bad breeder, and I'll just always get these spotty clutches. or maybe that gives an indicator that she'll lay in the 12 egg range if I can just get them all to be fertile. So I was like, well, anyway, the half slug clutch didn't take a lot of weight off of her. Doesn't seem to take as much off as all fertile eggs.
Yeah.
And so she put her weight right back on, and I tried Warzone, and again, he's a little older actually than Frostbite, and I was trying to, pull off that male, and eventually I put Frostbite in there, and he bred her every night for like a week. And that goes to show you, like, well, there you go. The female was ready. It was Warzone just wasn't.
Dude,
right.
the chemistry,
Swap the male, and then
the chemistry, the chemistry is
there's compatibility stuff.
Yeah, the compatibility part is huge. I feel like, and I've done that myself. Like I saw a male just kind of have no interest, swapped it out, and then this male went straight to her. So, but it's also like, some people just pair what they pair, and they just say, well, that goes and that goes, and that's it. But I feel like sometimes the male's just not feeling the female. You just need a hornier male or something. I don't know. Right.
Yeah. And so anyway, I swapped to Frostbite, and he bred her like 5 nights in a row. And I was like, damn. I mean,
what has she
that
done?
Normally does not. That normally means we're going in the right direction. She had all the stink, and he was into it.
What is that pairing done now? Is she?
Yeah, where's she at?
She just laid December 23rd. I got 16 fertile eggs.
She's the one that just laid. Yeah. Awesome.
16. Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
so
that has
all
to feel
fertiles.
good.
There was one tiny little baby slug in there.
Wow. Was it this clutch right here?
No, that's the Air Force One clutch.
Oh,
I haven't posted anything. I did send you pictures of them though. I sent you a picture of the eggs.
I'll pull them up real quick. Yeah, because one thing I remember about you, John, like you normally don't post anything until that shit's gone the distance. Then you post.
I try to.
But then I've also been seeing you've been doing some teasers here and there now, so I think you switched it up.
Yeah, I've been.
Oh, this is the one.
Just trying to have a little fun, little content.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you post a little too early, people, especially things you're planning to hold back, man, people really want to pry them out of you. So now that's Frostbite with Lady Frost, and Lady Frost is a daughter of like a really incredible, famous snake called Frosty. And he only had one clutch in his life. He was one of the best super blues of all time. And anyway, and that's a daughter of his. And so anyway, and I'm breeding him to my male Frostbite there. And I tried Warzone again. He gets like first shot at everything I'm trying to pull off with this really epic black calico male, but he just seems to need another year. So I tried him. He showed no interest. I also tried to use the Dildo, which is Frostbite's brother, but he's just not turned on yet. And then that's funny. One male's about to knock out a third clutch, and the other male won't. And they're brothers. So that's just the way it goes. But I was trying to let him do it because he's a super blue. He's solid blue. And I was trying to use a different male and swap things out. But after that, I was like, fuck it. I'm putting the male in that I know will get in there and get it done. And I put him in there, and I got a lock out of him. So that's the first male that's ever locked her.
I wouldn't be mad at this male at all. Are you kidding me? Like this?
Oh, he's epic. He's badass. And last year, I put males in with her, trying my butt off again with it, and she swelled up, and I was really scared. And it was the first time in my chondro breeding experience that I had a female really blow up. I mean, this is not like I was guessing. Really blow up, big kicked out coil, and I'd never seen any lock. And then she just eventually depressed back down and went back on feed.
Yeah,
and I was like, whoo. Because I don't want to slug this girl out, like so bad. I don't want the setback.
Yeah.
And so anyway, because she revved through that, and I'm like, all right, so she's kind of a reproductively ready to go girl. I am very optimistic. And I'm not afraid of a one and done. I don't care if he doesn't lock her anymore. I've seen enough success around one and dones that I don't care. He doesn't have to breed her anymore. His sperm is inside that female now. I know that. And so it's up to her now. If she'll go through the rest of the process, I would sit there and watch it with confidence that I was heading in the right direction.
Something just dawned on me. And this could be far-fetched, but I asked you if any female that you guys had, like, has it ever turned off before you guys even paired? Because I have a monocory female. She's an older girl. She got hella locks last year, and I would say I stopped pairing her around August. She hasn't been locked since mid last year, but now she's off food right now. So I'm wondering, like, that whole retained sperm shit. Like, has any of you guys dealt with that? Like, or had like females not get locked for a long time, and then all of a sudden, like, holy shit, like, look what's happening. I'm wondering if that's happened to any of you guys.
It's happened to me, but I think what really happened is that there was a lock or two that I didn't witness. Like, male had been in with the female, I never saw him lock, and then just for whatever reason, just the male went his own way, or he was paired with another female, and then she ovulated.
Like,
So
a one and done type of thing?
Well, it was probably a one and done, and I just didn't witness the one.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a possibility.
But if you haven't had a male in with that female for months.
No, I have. I just haven't seen any locks. I haven't, like, because and I'm in this room every fucking day. I'm obsessed. I'm like, I have no life. But I have not seen any locks. Like, I haven't seen any locks at all.
I think they can be sneakier than you're giving them credit for.
Maybe, and if that's the case, it's your designer male that I had her paired up to. So
nice.
No, listen, I'm not trying to fucking, like John said, we're not trying to count any eggs before they hatch. You feel me? Just gotta fucking keep it shut. See what happens.
They can definitely kind of get in this like half hung up state though, where they're like not. I've got a female that got bred like back in May, and she's bright blue and hormonal, but she keeps eating and she just kind of acts a little weird, and she's a little swollen, and it's like, but the male won't touch her now because she doesn't have like the follicles, they're just in some hung up. I'm just hoping she doesn't slug out. Some temperature trigger might just make her snap and make her ovulate, and then she'll slug or something,
Maybe all that snow.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to think that when they, like, for instance, when you do see a lock and you see those good locks, like the ones that the tail's hanging and shit like that. And I always feel like if it's going to go the distance, you at least typically witness something like that, but not all the time, I guess. I guess fucking, they're, like you said, they could be a lot like quicker. I guess you have like 1 minute mans and shit like that, Bust in and leave right away,
Listen, I'm probably in my room as much as you are, MJ, and I've missed them,
Yeah. Well, it's good to know, it could happen, but now, and also too, just because this girl, she's a fucking pig. Like, she never refuses food. Like, this girl never refuses food. And also, she's perched somewhere she never perches. Another sign, off food. She's on a completely different, cooler side. For whatever reason, she's cooling right now. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Who knows? Hands in the air. I just know that no males are fucking with her right now. At this point, I haven't seen any kind of courting or anything like that. The males are just like, I'm good. I don't know if she smells funny.
It'll be interesting to see what the results of that are here in the next couple months.
So, John, how many eggs in the incubator right now?
Just those 16.
16. Okay, and then you
I've got one. That's my second clutch. I bred Air Force One, which is a real tight bred, very, very concentrated bred blue line male. And I bred him to a female I produced. She's a blue line outcross girl. I named her Meadow, and she's off a Wamena female. So some nice outcross blood, but ties back in. And man, the neonates are just so banging. That's the Biot clutch right there. That's the 16. That's the girl that laid the 6 last year.
Yeah, eggs look good.
Damn glad I didn't give her a year off, right?
Yeah. I love the I like this custom method here because it looks like
why do you have those not in the vermiculite?
I think that's smart. That's why I think that's a great idea.
So basically, I've really narrowed it down to have like 2 approaches. I have my drier approach and my more moist approach and my more dry approach. And I wish I could have one way, and maybe I should just settle and trust, but it just seems like you get clutches that the eggs are beautiful and these could easily go. So, but then sometimes you get eggs that look like the shells might be a little tender. And so those I like to set up on a grid and give them a day or two or whatever, or a handful a week, just to kind of chalk up. And then as you can see, like the grid doesn't cover the whole bottom. And so if they start to shrivel or I feel like I need to nestle them into the vermiculite, I can just step them off and then remove the grid and kind of rearrange things. And so it just gives me a lot of flexibility there. If I feel like I need to rehydrate, I can step down to the vermiculite if the eggs. And then in this particular case, I had full intent to put them in there, let them chalk up, and then step them down. But I also don't change things that look good. And so you might say, well, I thought you'd incubate like this. I'm like, yeah, I do, but I'm not changing these good-looking eggs. So I'm breaking. I'm just so that's kind of the two ways I do things. And then
and is that probe in there? Is that that probe just to monitor? Or is that what your thermostat's hooked to?
That's just my monitoring probe.
Yeah, he uses a gangster ass one. All right, isn't that like a it's like a chemistry grade or something like that, or
It's a fluke thermocouple, but you can get them like all day long off. I got mine off of eBay for like $75.
And it's just super accurate, right?
It's just super accurate, right? But actually, someone was asking me about this earlier. They were messaging me and they said, "Well, I don't have a probe that I can get all the way into one of the egg boxes." And so, back in the day, it was all when people were cooking one egg box in an incubator, they would have the probe, not the thermostat probe. You want to control. This still remains the same. You want to control an incubator with a probe that is in the main chamber.
Yes.
And then if you want to monitor internal egg box temperatures, you do that with a probe inside an egg box, but you don't control the incubator with a probe inside the egg box.
Yep. Agreed, 100%.
Yep. You get bounce if you do. You get big swings and all kinds of crazy.
You get eggs that don't make it is what happens.
Yeah. You want to control the chamber and monitor the box. And so that's just for me. But man, I have started to play around with cooking eggs on cooler and cooler temperatures.
Same.
And
I like
so that proves to me right there that you don't need, you might want to do some monitoring on one box and find out what your hottest shelf is at. But then the ones below that are, I have cooked.
How cool is cool?
Well, I'm a full degree cooler than I used to incubate at 87.5, and right now and then the last clutch I did at 87. I've done a handful at that, and then this last clutch is the only clutch so far, and I've not hatched them yet, but I'm cooking it at 86.5. So,
damn, yeah, I did 87.3 just because I like that number.
I got an alarm going off. Be right back.
You're good. 87.3 was a number because I think I learned that from Gary, and then I just went to 87. And then mind you, I work it down too. So when I hit day 40, I eventually work it down to like 85.5. I think that's the coldest I went down with this last clutch. But I felt like cooler temps and more ventilation in that box, I felt like was a huge game changer for me. Because I used to do zero ventilation. And then also like my probe was fucked up. I was obviously all over the place, but I noticed once I cooled them down a little bit, and then I also gave them proper airflow in that egg box. Personally, I don't know. I felt like I got better results.
Yeah, and that's one thing about the vermiculite that allows you to do that is you can vent that box more because the eggs are kind of they are like in contact and connected to the moisture source in there. And so you can have a lot more fresh air exchange and get a really hydrated, man, you can get a real happy egg that way. And they'll ride right through the incubation. And you can see I've got some air holes in this box that I open and close. I've got one on every side, and they've got that little red tape on them.
Yeah, because you just give them a little bit extra right at a certain point, at a certain, when they're at a certain day, you start opening up some of those taped air holes, correct?
I start with them open, and I start with my lid. Well, I actually start like night one, maybe with it off, or I take the rectangular lid and sit it on there perpendicular so it has two big open, big gaps in there. And so I'll maybe night number one, right when they're laid, I might give them a handful of hours in there with the lid cracked over half, turned perpendicular. to really just dry the egg surfaces off from being freshly laid.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, just so that they don't get condensation on them. And then I'll flip the lid and put it on with my holes open, and I'll incubate the first week with the holes open. Again, this is probably just me being nervous. I'm just like, are y'all doing okay? And then after that, I close my holes up, pop the lid on, close up the snaps, and let it ride. And then about the last 2 weeks, just like you do, if I've got only one clutch in the incubator, I might knock some temp off because I know it doesn't hurt. And I'll open those holes up and vent it again.
Yeah,
but I also like the idea of just working each year and adjusting my temp and finding a flat number that works. Because I love the idea of having a system. I like to simplify and standardize and stuff like that.
Bill, would you and Marshall, would you guys agree that like when it comes to trying to hatch out multiple clutches in one incubator, it could get a little tricky? Like it kind of like you kind of get tested a little bit more like that way. You feel like I feel like that's what it's going to be like for me. If I have multiple clutches in the incubator, I don't think like I'm comfortable with 2 levels, but then like for instance, cooling them down, right? Like how am I going to cool a clutch down in an incubator where there's other eggs that are like 2 weeks before them or something like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, about
I've got both of mine obviously are in the same incubator now, and I was playing around with just the monitoring the temps on the different levels. Yeah, and the top and the bottom bottom's warmer, top's cooler, but the 2 in the middle are almost the same. So I've got them in the middle, and luckily they're a day apart. So if I decide that I want to cool them off a little bit, they'll both be at the same state of development.
Yeah. Oh yeah, those clutches are tight enough together. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's perfect. I hope that happens for me.
The other thing, MJ, is I've just gotten to the point where if I feel like a couple degrees needs to come off for that clutch, knock it off of there, and then resume temperatures. The other clutches in there wouldn't even care.
About 3 years ago, MJ and Marshall, you both have been in my room. I have 2 incubators. Yeah. So about 3 years ago, I went to, a warm incubator and a cool incubator. And right now is a perfect example. Like Alex Warren was incubating a clutch in the warm incubator. We moved it to the cool incubator about 10 days ago. Well, I've got a clutch that's still in the warm, the warm incubator. And when I say warm and cool, I'm talking about a 1 to 2 degree difference.
What are the 2 temperatures?
What's that?
What is warm? What is your warm and what is your cool?
87.5. And then, we dropped Alex's clutch, segmentally down, to 86. That's the lowest that we incubated at. But my incubator is stable from bottom to top by half a degree. Both of my incubators.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's good.
So, yeah, I mean, it's nice to have some flexibility when you have multiple clutches.
Yeah, I do have a second incubator, but I just, it's in another room and it's an old refrigerator and doesn't have a glass door in it. So I don't like using it, but I mean, I could if I absolutely needed to.
Well, your clutches are so close together. It's not an issue.
You're good,
right?
Man. That's solid. But hold on, Marshall, are those the 2? Are you pretty confident that's the only 2 clutches that you're going to have for this year?
I'm still trying. Yeah, I'm going to, it's been like a couple of, ever since I got these, I was just going to kind of wait and see how they did. But, when I stopped pairing them, I had tried different males I've got 2 or 3 other females that, are old enough, should be ready. But I tried them with the calico male that did the one and done, tried them with Versace, who will breed anything, and neither of them showed any interest at the time. So, the plan is to, here in the next week or 2, try throwing the male back in there and see if, they show any interest. So, I mean, yeah, in theory, these 2 that just went were pretty early for me. That's the first time I've had eggs laid before the first of the year, was these 2. So yeah, I mean, it's still season for me. So yeah, I could have more, but they wouldn't be laid until these were out.
John, would you say you have a season? Are you breeding within a breeding season, or you're going all year round?
I have produced some clutches in the spring, but my breeding definitely does mostly occur in the fall, but I start sooner than some people. You know, some people just like when they say the fall, they just mean like September and October. Like that's, man, I have definitely learned over the years that there are some females and things that there's stuff going on inside them far before we feel, like they're feeling barometric pressure changes before we can feel them, and they're doing all that kind of, you know. So I have started pairing up. I'll just put the males, like everything that I think I want to pair up, I might put all the males together in like July or August and just kind of see what everybody's doing. And like,
Yeah, I've done that.
you know, you might have one that catch fire, and I put for Air Force One with that Meadow girl. I mean, I've got neonates in the incubator hitting their second shed already, and that's a very early clutch.
Yeah.
Bill, that's why I was asking if you ultrasounded during the off season to see if maybe females would show ripe follicles.
Yeah, I typically haven't, and maybe it's something that I'll start to do. I don't know. For me, I'm kind of like John. I like to keep things simple. You know, I like to have, you know, the vast majority of my pairings going on at the same time. Although I broke that rule this year because, like John said, I noticed a female that was just swollen when she shouldn't be, and it was a female that I had bred last year. Noticed multiple locks, but she never progressed. So months later, well, she's doing something different. She just looked different. And I put a male in there, and it was a one and done. You know, he bred her one time, and, you know, I have eggs in the incubator, and this is the earliest I've ever had eggs in the incubator.
Yeah. And what's crazy, Bill, is like, you don't really know what they're doing with the actual food that they're, you know, taking in. Like, are they storing it with some of these follicles, or like, you know what I mean? Like, so these snakes just have a way of like doing what they're doing and, you know, needing what they need to you know, to ovulate and do weird shit, you know. Like, I don't know. It's just, I guess it's hard for us to really predict sometimes, you know?
Yeah, it's very hard. I'm just so, you know, have been ingrained into me that temperature cycling is really important to get these females and the males for that matter, you know, just to get in that mode. And so it's been harder for me to, you know, get outside of that. But yeah, I'm fully on board and doing different things, trying different things, and, you know, always learning.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer that, you know, temperatures, I feel like obviously is a huge part, but the feeding, man, like, I think feeding determines like how you fucking get a girl to go, you know. And mind you, if you have a schedule where you just feed, it's gonna be probably hard sometimes to figure out what girls' cycles are. But if you kind of narrow shit down, like, you know, Bill's seasonal, you know, and Mark Bailey comes over all the time, and, you know, it'll be a time of year where he's not feeding anything and I'm feeding everything. He's like, and he'd ask me, well, why are you feeding everything? I'm like, I pair because I just pair all year round. I just pair as I see things. But that can also kind of give you, like, I guess, push you back in a way too. If you're trying to figure out what a girl's cycle is, just don't fucking feed them. Don't feed them for a while, and then when those temps change, then you fucking feed them, and something's bound to happen like that. I feel like.
I will say, I was just going to say, I do think that as you start, you know, and I've had this the last few years where I'm breeding a lot of females, you know, I mean, 10 or more females, and it becomes harder to really hone in, you know, on that one female that, oh, wow, you know, I'm going to take her off the schedule that everybody else is on, you know. It's just, it becomes more difficult. I think the more females that you're breeding, you know, even you know, I feel like I'm a pretty observant person, and this is what I do every day. I'm out there in my room, you know, every day, a lot of part of the day, but it just seems harder, you know, as you get more females to pick and choose this one, that one. And I don't want to be the person that has a male in, you know, 12 months out of the year. You know, I want to give those males and the females their time off and their break. And I don't know, to me, it becomes more confusing.
What were you say, Marshall?
Just that with these two females, that's what happened this year, is that I didn't feed them all summer. Temps got cool, fed them once, paired them, and
boom,
they both went.
Because like, you know, like we talk about, they know things are different. Like they'll, especially if a snake goes from getting food all the fucking time, and they're all of a sudden they're like, dude, where's my food? you know, they start to fucking act like their body starts going through those processes. I feel like, you know. And,
well, what I've noticed is you might say from what Marshall said, you're like, well, that's the ticket. These things are sensitive to triggers. They like lots of different triggers. Like you could be chugging along, and I have definitely been breeding snakes, and like you feed them a meal, and you can tell it's like something about that meal was a trigger, and you well timed it, and the female was just ripe, and she just shuts down. It's like, man, well, that was it. That was over, and boom, she blows up, and so whether it's like a fast and then some meals, you know, just some of these like. The shift in the weather, the shift in their food diet, you know, like their rate of intake. I don't know, just different things can seem to just tip them over the edge.
Yeah, I mean, it could have just been coincidence that happened with the feeding, and it could have been that we had a cold snap in October, and that's what did it. So, or both, or you know, combination, or you know.
One thing, Gary, shout out to Gary, but one thing Gary has said on this show before. Talking about Keith McPeak is that, like, you know, Keith has a way of just like knowing how to fucking feed these northerns where he could get them to ovulate and go. And that's one of the biggest challenges I feel like when you're breeding emeralds is like, yeah, you get locks, but like getting them to fucking actually ovulate, I feel like comes down to like how you're feeding them and when you're feeding them. But every time, I mean, when Gary said that, it just kind of stuck to me, like, you know, and if that's the case, like if that's what it's like with a boa, you know, an emerald tree boa, and it's like that with ball pythons, because it's all about how you fucking feed a ball python and get them to go too. I mean, it has to all relate. It all has to be around. It all has to, you know, all have to do with the same thing, I feel like.
They're all just pythons, right? I mean,
well, I mean, not all, but yeah, they're goddamn, I don't know.
And I think 9 out of 10 of them kind of follow the textbook, and they respond like a python, and you can do the whole food ramping thing. You can just hit them, you know, just kind of feed them hard and breed them. But then there are some that just seem a little bit tougher to crack. And it's good to have some different tools in the tool belt and be like, well, I'm going to try her in April, or I'm going to, you know, whatever. I'm going to hold food for all summer and give it a crack and see if I can just shake her up enough to get her to go.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. It's good to have options in the toolbox, like you said. I'm just glad like you're not on here preaching fucking mice to your goddamn chondros like we had some people recently. It's like, fuck, man. I feel like I tried doing the whole mice thing just because I was hearing so many of these motherfuckers feeding mice. None of my females liked it. They all dropped it. None of them wanted the mice. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna fucking change anything. I'm rats till I die with my chondros, man. I'm sorry.
I think we talk about mice versus rats, and I'm sure there is some caloric difference between them and how much you feed them. But I'll say this: the female that I had that laid the 26 eggs, she had last year off. The last time she produced was in 2022. So whatever that is, she had a good 2 years off. I don't weigh things regularly, but I was just curious because she is pretty big. I weighed her after the clutch, and she's 800 grams. And she basically had been fed
once,
I don't know, three mice in the last 6 months.
Oh, you gave her mice?
Yeah.
Oh wow, damn.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And then I've got siblings. I've got the other clutch, the other female. She's probably a little smaller. I'm going to say she's probably 650 after the clutch. But she's got a sibling that's, I'm going to say, probably closer in size to the other one. And then they have another sibling that's probably, I'm going to say, like half the size of the two of them. So, you know, I don't know. A lot of it, I don't know if it's mice versus rats, or if it's just the genetics of the snake or what.
And I need plenty of mice too, you know, just not to adult females. You know?
Yeah. I know, you know, one thing I do know about the mice, I do like feeding those to my breeder males. Like I, you know, would rather keep them on something lighter than heavier, you know, but I also like feeding rat pups and shit to males too. I don't think it hurts, you know, I don't know. Do what works for you, I guess. Listen, I look at how they're shitting. If they're shedding good, if all that looks good, then the fuck, what's the issue, you know?
Give it a try. Feed all those males that you're feeding them rat pups. Feed them a weaned rat, and then just space it once a month and see if you like it.
I mean, I also like, I can't even say I feed all my males a rat pup. Or it's all based on what size they are and what what they look like and stuff like that. So I don't really I don't stick to just one meal size for the most part, unless it's like an adult female and I'm breeding them. Well, then it's, I usually typically stick to that small rat. Like unless it's a big bitch, then I might toss her like a medium rat, but that's rare. Like, cause even then I feel like, and mind you, I think everyone has different sizes when it comes to mediums and smalls. I really do. I don't think everyone's
there's not a lot of consistency.
Yeah.
You want a nice medium. You want a small medium. Yeah.
9 toy.
A big medium is too big for a contract.
Yeah. For reals. Curious though, listen, you have strict, biosecurity, I guess, right? You don't really kind of fuck around anymore. And I feel like you have a lot of reason to, but can we talk about like how serious it is, even with a collection that's as closed off like yours? Like, are your babies still getting tested for NIDO at this point? Like, what are you?
No. I mean, but I'll test anything that I test things for sale, and some things, especially like a real high end yearling or something that I'm selling. I just test it. That way it's just covered.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not testing tiny little neonates. I have at this point developed, or just acquired enough experience, and I've tested enough stuff. They might not say that my testing protocol is, up to a scientific standard to write a paper on it or whatever, but I've sold enough neonates and I've tested enough babies that
you can just look at them and tell.
Well, from NIDO positive parents, we have anecdotally through the hobby determined that neonates don't catch NIDO from their parents. And so if you can at least do a good job of keeping your hands clean in that area of your hobby nice and tidy, you can do a really good job of, even if you've got a dumpster fire over here, you can do a pretty good job of not passing it forward to anybody. And so if you think about it, people like Rico and all that back in the day, I mean, NIDO was around, but you just kind of by default, like you feed your babies on different than you feed your adults. You're not typically like feeding rats and feeding mice pinks, and so just those actions in the snake room being done, I think that allowed for, just a lot of clean snakes to be kind of passed forward. And so, someone could have kind of a NIDO positive collection and almost inadvertently not do a lot of NIDO if all they sold was neonates.
Yeah, I think, I was going to say, I think that's true if you're talking about passing forward clean neos. Obviously, that's not the case with adults.
No. So anyway, through that and just seeing, I'm like, well, that was probably what was going on back then. And then also all the testing I've done, I'm really confident that a neonate is clean. But
100%.
Yeah.
I got a question for you, John. Like, what's the typical age you're selling your neonates at? Like, and is there a certain like number of meals you like to go by, or when are you like considering letting go of a production?
Most of the time, right, different ones are different. And there are always a couple of shooting stars out there that just like the clutch is just killer. And then back in the day, man, they would say things like, I got 10 meals in this clutch and they're ready to go. Man, I just would be a little bit nervous about callbacks and stuff like that. And I just don't want to deal with that. And what I have found is a really good rule of thumb, even the worst clutches, they're going to be really solid by 6 months old, or they're not fit to be sold. Right. And so I either kind of fall into, people buy them from me at 3 months old or 4 months old or whatever, but I typically try to prime people to understand I may want, it's going to be bulletproof before I send it. So
yeah, for sure.
4 to 6 months old would be if they were buying an unchanged neonate, and then if they were wanting to change neonate, that's past a year old. So that seems to be the two categories I sell them in.
How's your eye game, bro? Are you like you feel like you're picking the the ones that you don't want to make available pretty well, or you Bill Stiegel and fucking just being goddamn like passing out to the needy, or what are you doing?
You talking about picking whole bags?
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, I go on this rant about why I love red neonates so much, because you could just see the ones that are the special ones, right? So is that what you're doing? Are you looking at the ones that you are favoriting and like, okay, like I'm just curious. And has that been working? You know, have you been holding back the right ones? You know, that type of thing.
Yeah, I've let go of some that I probably shouldn't have, and I've held back most that I should have.
Yeah, because Bill's even
So do you
said
feel
like,
like you can pick them?
Yeah, I mean, well, as long as because I have the ability to hold back big swaths of neos, yeah. You know, I can say, well, like, I'm going to keep the top half of this clutch. I'm going to keep the top, or in fact, keep them all. So there's it depends on what I'm doing. Like, I'm either going to keep them all, or I'm going to keep the very best half, and then I should surely get a couple of winners in there. But very rarely do I pick a single holdback and sell the rest of the clutch.
Bill, I know you.
That's
Bill,
how.
Bill, I know you can't remember everything that you've let go of that turned out amazing, but would you say last pick is probably the biggest one? You feel like that ended up back with you, thank God. But I'm just saying, like last pick was, you sold that not thinking it was going to turn into the 2.0.
Yeah, well, I've told this story before. I mean, it was last pick out of 15 red neos. You know, so obviously, even if I would have held back half the clutch, I wouldn't have held back that animal. And I've never held back half a clutch, ever. So there was no way that thing was going to be sticking around.
But also,
I've talked with John before about holdbacks, and we've had the discussion. I think, John, even at one point, you were, I number my neos just whatever ones I pick out, which, like, if I can get to this one out of the box, the first, that becomes 24.01, and then I pick out 2, and then I pick out 3, and the last one is just the last one that I can get to. But John, correct me if I'm wrong. There was a time where you would pick out what you thought was the best neo out of that box, and it would be number 1 for you.
Yeah, I like to do that. I just play around. What I do is I look at the box and I'll just take a stab at what and then I'll just pull them in order of
what you think, like, the nicest one you'd pick out first, right?
Yeah. So just for trivial purpose, then I get to see, like, unshed at just a quick glance, how good was I?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So what's the gem out of the? They're all gems, obviously, right? And if you don't want any of them, just send them to me, John. But what right here? This what we're looking at. If you had to pick the one in this group, I think there's only 2 in here, right? Or maybe 3.
There's like 4 at least.
4 maybe.
Yeah, 4 or 5 probably.
But for what we're looking at here, John, what would you pick? Like something with less pattern, or something really dark with pattern? What are you looking at?
This is one of those clutches. It's just, you would never. I mean, there are, again, like, it's one of those. The top half, there's definitely some screaming insane ones, but some of those are going to turn out less than elite, and a couple of them are going to probably turn out real top shelf, and it's just tough.
Which ones, though? There's no way anything that's going to be less elite, bro. Are you kidding?
Yeah, and that clutch is just ooey gooey. I mean, that was what I call just every one of them is just dripping with funk. I mean, they're it's not like one of those clutches that's like, man, that's a freak, and then the rest are kind of plain. The whole clutch was just bangers.
Okay, maybe that lighter red one, but that could even still be an insane one. Like, that's like you can't write off. You can't write off.
I've learned to trust the red one too. Because sometimes there'll be a single, like, a redder neonate, and that where you can get those fluke high yellows from red neonates. That sometimes can come from those brighter red.
A lot of good variety in that clutch.
Yeah,
a lot of different looks.
I feel like all you guys produced this type of color neonate before, and I want to ask you, those rustic orange diamonds with the black markings. I mean, this thing's not going to miss. This is going to be elite, I feel like. What do you feel like, John?
I think the clutch is going to be really nice.
This one,
and I think there's going to be some nice. I think there's going to be some nice blue snakes in it. And the clutch is so good looking across the board that I'm like, well, damn, I was going to sell, most of these. And then they just came out way. I was like, wow, that blood really linked up nicely. And it's a really good looking clutch. So now I'm tempted to hold back more of them. I think there could be some sweet ones in there. So I think there could be either way, but it's like, damn, it could be a pretty epic clutch. It looks like
these aren't even too much.
I have a clutch like that, and instead of just like holding them all back, I just charge more.
Beat back those hyenas with a good financial lesson. Yeah.
Oh my God. But okay,
The orange diamonds are a great sign in my experience.
Thank
Agree,
you.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, the rustic ones too. I mean, those are dark. Those are like almost red diamonds, I want to say, but like not as red.
Yeah.
It's like Halloween colored orange. It's fucking sick.
And then you can't really tell. It's hard to tell in the pics sometimes. But Bill, like when I was at your place this past fall, and you had, I forget what we were looking at, 2 or 3 clutches, and pulling drawers, one clutch, all of them look very nice. Kind of a reddish maroon with whitish yellow diamonds. And then I got to the next clutch, and it was like, whoa,
Yeah.
orange diamond,
Look
like a dark.
Look like John's clutch, right?
Yeah, like a velvety, like there's depth to the dark, to the darkness. I know that sounds weird, but I don't know how else to describe it. You look at them and they look different,
There's no describing it. It's like it's something you just see. Like once you see it in person, like we can look at pictures all day, but when you see the difference in level of coloration in person, it is like Marshall said, it's like, whoa, holy shit. Like I thought I was looking at a dark one. What is this one? This one's goddamn near black, and it just gets crazier.
And there's something and Marshall's named it, and I have a hard time ever describing it, but there's a depth thing. There's a depth to the color thing, like a saturation level, and you can have that monotone, very even, and sometimes it'll be accompanied by like very few rosettes on the side of the body, on the flank. The snake might have a dorsal diamond, but man, it's just got these big uninterrupted areas of that just beautiful, rich, deep color. And you can still see that specialness in a reddish neo. And you'll be like, sometimes in these like dark black clutches, you'll see that one and you'll be like, man, but it's got the depth thing and you can kind of tell. So really, I'm not looking for darkness. I'm looking for specialness, and that's a little bit harder to describe and a little bit different than, grabbing the darkest one in the clutch is a great shotgun approach. Like that will 9 times out of 10 lead to something decent. But man, there can be a sleeper that's a couple of clicks down, a couple of picks below. That's like the real freak.
Hey, why don't we?
It's also how does it look relative to the others? Like the one that looks, they may all be black or real dark, like you're saying. But if you got one that's red, definitely hold on to that one. Anything that looks different from the majority of them.
I would have let none of this shit go personally. That's because I'm a lot fucking wet behind the ears here. But I'm just saying, you kidding me, bro? Like I said, I mean, obviously everything has a price, but I'm talking about the fucking kind of price I could buy another house if I wanted to. Good luck. Like I'm gonna fucking woof. I get excited thinking about it. But I want to ask you, John, where are we at with these snakes as far as establishment go? Are they all eating good for you?
Yeah, they are. I've got it is an incredibly good feeding clutch. I do have 2 or 3 that are I'm having to whack on them a little bit and work them to get them to eat.
God damn.
But I got it was a clutch of 13 eggs and I hatched them all, and it's 13 neos, and I'd say 10 of them just are crushing, and I'll get the others soon.
How old is this clutch?
November. Yeah. So not even 2 months. November 21st, he posted this. 22nd, November 22nd.
Yeah.
So is that kind of an off-season clutch for you?
Yeah, that's that early one. That's the one I was telling you about. The girl that one and done. I just saw her. I had just started cooling, and I was, and that's another thing is like sometimes you'll be like, I've got these 5 females and I'm going to breed them. Well, the same cooling and the whatever you're doing to the room can trigger a girl that's a year young. And that's kind of what I wasn't even going to breed this girl. She was not on the docket, not getting cooled, but all the stuff I was just doing in the room, and I was starting to cool down everything else, she just kicked into gear, and she was all swole up. I hadn't paired her at all. She was a 4-year-old female. She was only 700 grams flat. And I'm talking about after cleaned out, I weighed, just out of curiosity, before I put her in the egg box, I just weighed her, and she was 700 grams on the money.
Wow.
And she laid 13 eggs, which is, so that really also goes to show you sometimes that like
700 after the clutch?
No, before.
before. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm curious though, what was your approach with this clutch?
Which I would have thought that her size would have trimmed her down to like a kind of a more of like a 9 or a 10 egg clutch. I just wouldn't have thought she would have. So I'm guessing that next year, if I give her a year off, if I really get that girl up to be maybe 800 grams, not crazy, but just a little extra weight on her for a captive breeding situation, you know, she probably would lay a nice big like 15, 16 egg clutch.
Yeah. And straightforward as far as like what you offered them, like you didn't do anything different with the, like, you know, the scenting, no scenting, like what was your first meal of choice?
I scent everything. I'm like Marshall. Everything gets chick scent. I don't play around with different scents anymore.
No,
I used to try. I'm not saying that I've not seen some response from a lizard before, but it's just I don't. The most response you get for sure is chick scent, and so that's what I do. And I just jump right to it and get on with it, and then I just work the ones that don't feed, and that would be a combination of feeding heads or pieces of tail or just aggravating them a little bit and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say go ahead. I was gonna let you speak.
I was going to ask, you know, when I was thinking about changing back to vermiculite this year, you were one of the people that, you know, from being on the show, I knew that did it, and, you know, got some tips and pointers from you and Ryan Young also. Not a lot of people still incubate on vermiculite. So what is your one thing that I got from both of you guys that I thought was interesting was that both of you use a pretty large egg box compared to what I had been using in the past. So talk a little bit about, you know, how are you doing the vermiculite? What's your ratio? What size egg box? Are you using the same egg box every time?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I use this Sterilite box that I get from Target. It's called their Sterilite Deep container. It's like 11 inches by 17 inches or something by 6 or 7 inches. It's like kind of like a 15-quart tub. I think it's a 12-quart. Anyway, but I use that box. It's just a nice size box. But all of this spawned, and I'll butcher this. I won't do a great job of it. But I read an article back in the day from the Barkers, and it talked about egg box volume, and they had done all these calculations and figured out like egg mass to air volume in this ratio. And the takeaway though was that you need sufficient air volume to allow the gas and the heat to kind of just get off and get away from the egg boxes, the eggs. And so anyway, I don't know what that calculation was, and I don't have a way to find that article. Somebody maybe I should reach out. I don't know. Are the Barkers even still alive? I hate to even say that I don't know that, but I know they're getting some age on them.
We're dying to get Tracy on the show. We're gonna make it
incredible. Yeah, I mean they're legends. You know what I mean? In Python breeding pioneers. You know, they really are. And so anyway, I read this article and it just changed the way I thought about it. And they basically just really talked about having a lot of air volume there, and that is good, you know, for the eggs, and that it really helps buffer against like temp spikes and stuff like that.
You know, it's interesting, John, and that all makes great sense. And I have more recently gone to bigger boxes, but when you think about a python that's maternally incubating, those eggs are smashed on each other, and there's almost no airflow, you know, for their entire period. So when I initially started incubating, I would use very small egg boxes. But after doing some research and listening to some people, some experts in egg incubation, I agree that the airflow is beneficial. You know, it's one of the reasons we artificially incubate instead of maternally incubate, because when you artificially incubate, you don't have what's called center egg syndrome. And a lot of clutches that are maternally incubated, those center mass eggs tend to be the ones that don't do well because
Yeah,
really.
overheated.
They're way hotter, right?
Right.
they're getting more heat, they're getting less airflow.
Yeah.
So I agree, it makes sense to incubate in a larger box, and I've since changed to that.
Yeah. Yep.
So what are you doing with your vermiculite? How are you doing a 1-to-1 ratio? A little less water?
I use 1-to-1, but I also then do some checking by hand, by feel. I'm a kind of a plants person, a gardener. I studied horticulture in school, and it's part of my career.
That's
And
cool.
so I understand that I probably have a feel for soil moisture differently than I have a different touch than maybe some people. So 1-to-1, if you must go by weight, but after a clutch or two, you'll get the feel for it too. And it's going to feel dry. I mean, you'll be like, wow, this is crazy. It barely clumps. But because vermiculite, depending on the season, it's so absorbent, it'll absorb air moisture, especially after you buy it and you've broke the seal and you've opened your bag. And then in the summertime, it's just, so 1-to-1 in different times of the year will produce
Could be
different
different.
moisture levels.
Are you having to add water during the 50-day incubation period to the vermiculite, or is it once it's set up, it's done?
Yeah.
If you get enough moisture in there, it's set up and done.
See, that's why I feel like if you do put a fucking, egg crater or that, whatever, that diffuser thing, I guess it really doesn't matter how wet the fucking substrate is, as long as it's not. Yeah, that's why I feel like it's a safer bet. But you better be on top of your ratio, fucking. If you are planning to put them in directly, which I feel like is like, if I wasn't so chicken shit, I'd be down to do that. But I'm definitely chicken shit. So
Me too.
I went 0.9. I did 500 grams of vermiculite to 450 water.
I'm already lost. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what to say. Okay, what does that mean?
And just like that's not what we use our scales
You fucking
for.
measure out 500 grams of vermiculite and then 450 grams of water.
Like, what, a deli cup? Like, where are you putting this fucking, like, or in the actual
In
egg box?
anything, of any vessel.
Deli cup, water bottle,
A beaker.
of any vessel.
Any vessel.
That was awesome. But that's also like another thing, though, right? Because people come into this and they're, God bless them, but they're trying to retain as much information as possible, and that's all fine and dandy. But until those fucking eggs land in your lap, that's when everything, like, and for me, all the research, everything sometimes just all goes away, and I'm just like, holy shit, And so I try to just do things as simple as possible, but also what I feel like I need for them to go the distance. And so I got not that it's like any, but Brian Susan, I saw how he incubates his tree monitor eggs, and he just does perlite, pretty saturated with the the diffusers on it, and it's, like I said, it's just something where I have govies in there, and I know the humidity is where it needs to be. But I also think it's pretty cool when you see eggs hatching out that are buried in vermiculite. Am I fucking up that name? I'm scared to say that name now. Holy shit. So one more time. Vermiculite. Did I say that right?
Vermic. Remember.
Vermiculite. My bad. Vermiculite. It's vermiculite, right? Listen, I'm getting a lot of things. Just listen. I'm working on it. But I think that's really sick when you see that, I will say. But all right, listen, John, I got to ask you, what is the game plan like as far as like, where do you feel like you'll hit the biggest, like, where's the most productions you ever want to see yourself going? Like, how many clutches do you feel like you can handle in a year?
Well, I would love, I'd love to produce 100 Neos in a year one time. I think that'd be kind of cool.
That'd be sick.
How
many clutches that, right? It'd probably be about like at least like 6 good clutches, or maybe less, but it's a good amount of clutches.
Yeah, I mean, the more numbers, you're going to have some that go well and some that go bad. So that could be, you could have like a clutch of like 2 Neos, and then a clutch of like 12 Neos, and a clutch of like 20 Neos. So that could be like 6 to 10 clutches that take to get done.
So 100 Neos,
if you're cobbling together a bunch of bullshit. If you got a bunch of crappy clutches, if you get you a couple of Marshall clutches, and then you fast track your way right there, 2 or 3 clutches.
But even in the 30, I mean, I look at Marshall and I'm like, damn, this fool has his plate full, you know. But like 100 neos, man, like, how do you feel about that, Marshall? You think you could do 100 neos, chondros?
If that was everything, you know, I would do no ball pythons that year for sure.
You
know?
It'd be a suffering year, though. It'd be a tough year.
Bill, Mo, the most you had was 60. You're in the 60s one time, right?
Yes, right at 60. But this year could very well eclipse that by a good mark.
Wow.
Bill may hit the 100 mark this year.
Yeah, how do you feel about that, Bill?
A blessing and a curse. I mean, again, I'm very superstitious talking about shit like that, but yeah, it could easily be a 100-year production this year.
Damn, Alex Warren, you better be ready, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to quit the dog grooming business if that happens.
You're a one-man team over there, right, John? Like, you don't have anybody helping you, or like what's going on with that?
Just me.
Yeah, but I did show a snake that was partnered with Dave D. Can we talk about that snake?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, bought that with Dave.
From who?
Christian.
Okay. So, and I'm curious, like, I always wonder, like, when you get a snake this like next level, right? Where do you want to take a snake like this, like look wise? Like, what's the direction you're headed for when you have a snake like this?
Well, her sire is Velvet, and so who's off of October, so she's a direct descendant of the Calico stuff. And then the Warzone, the snake I've got, Warzone, is also off of Velvet. And so I likely would not. I mean, everybody when they see her, they're like, "Oh man, that'd be so badass." And I get it from the looks, they would be, but maybe as a Hail Mary, like with her last clutch or something, or some later in life deal, I would try to do some real tight bred thing. But out of what I've got for her, now I was going to say I could breed her to Frostbite or Showtime, which would be a clutch mate to Bill's freight train, right? So a melanistic blue thing. But, these things stick around long enough. And again, this girl needs another year or two. So when you're looking at, let's say, that Frostbite to Calico clutch I produced last year, that's a yearling now. I mean, there's nothing to say that those couldn't be. Her future boyfriend could be growing up right now and be an unchanged yearling right now. So I don't really know what the future holds for her, but I would be willing to do that if I did, like, that's kind of a Velvet outcross. If I bred Warzone to something else and then back to her, so I'm going to do stuff like that with her.
And this snake is, what did you say? She's pretty tight bred Calico.
Well, she's a Calico to Blue Line cross.
It's crazy.
So so Christian Stewart produced her, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then and so this snake came to you first, or did it go to Dave first?
It came to me.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. He had a snake. Her name was Lunatic, and she was somehow connected to some guys in England. And so when this was his female, and it took a while for this to come about, and here's his snake, and he had lost interest in chondros in that amount of time. So he said, well, there's no point in sending this snake to England. We don't have the snakes here to breed to it, you know what I mean? And I'm not interested anymore. So she came available, and we scooped her up.
And what'd she look like as a red neo?
Oh, dude, she was ridiculous. This snake. I'm on my Facebook.
You want to? If you can, send it to me, and I can pull it up. If you want to message it to me.
Yeah, I will. I'm
curious because I know, Bill, you have something almost like this. I feel like I remember we were calling it like the computer chondro, or it was something pixelated like this. You know which one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I've got a couple, and interestingly enough, they were sired by Freight Train, which is a male that John produced.
And how those look right now? Do they still kind of look crazy? Like what?
They haven't. I've got two of them here, and they haven't completed their change yet.
So they still look nuts.
They're taking a long time, but they're still basically red. They're almost freaking 2 years old now, and they haven't started their change yet.
No, this will be sad. But
Why is it gonna be sad?
that's what we bought her looking like.
Okay, did you send it? Where's it at?
Yeah, I sent it to you on Instagram.
Oh, an IG? Okay, let's see. Let's see.
She was bonkers, dude.
Oh my god, holy shit, this thing's cool. All right, let's check this out. Damn. Wow.
Yeah, that's not black. It was brown, right? And so that's that October blood kind of coming through.
How old is she right here?
She was 3.
She was already 3 years old right there?
She was a little undersized.
Whoa. She's 3 years old right there?
Yeah, I think, yeah, she was. She was 3 years old and needing some weight on her a little bit.
And you obviously did that because now she looks fucking great.
That's a cool look. Some of the calicos get the black with, or the dark with the green diamonds.
You made some stuff like this, Marshall, right? For sure.
Yeah, I've made a couple like that over the years. Yeah, I don't have them anymore, but yeah.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, John? I'm sorry.
I just agree with Marshall. She just was unique, and I thought it was a rare opportunity to get kind of a world-class snake like that with that brown. And I think that's kind of one of the frontiers of chondros that hasn't really, is like the reds and the browns. We're really doing a pretty good job with blues and yellows and stuff like that. But these oranges and reds and browns, a chondro can achieve those colors, right? And it's just kind of teasing that out. So I think that's something fun to play with in the future years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only seen that look in calico stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Remind me
the dark with the green diamonds?
Well, the brownish, the brown.
I joke around. I told Dave, I was like, here we are working hard, spending big bucks so that we can breed green tree pythons that look like $25 normal ball pythons. I'm going to breed a brown green tree python, So.
I love snakes like this. One thing about yellows, if they stay yellow, I'm a fan of it. And this thing right here is fire. This was a red neo, though, right?
That was.
Yeah.
That's from Dave.
Why don't we just set the record straight? You don't produce any yellow neos. It's impossible.
It's not impossible.
But you won't let it happen. You won't let it happen.
I put some effort into not letting it happen at times, but it would be very challenging. Yes. Now I'd have to think about how to do it.
But when was the last time, or have you ever made a yellow neonate?
I've never produced a yellow neonate.
Wow. That's heavy.
Really?
All right.
Never?
That's so sick. Probably the
biggest.
Wow. And I'm not opposed to it. It just doesn't fit these projects, these designer projects that are like blue and black and calico and all of that. But if you stick around, like I just posted a comment earlier on the forum or whatever. I'm really eyeballing those king line snakes over in Europe.
Dude, those are fire. Oh my God.
I don't have any problem with yellow neonates. Quality is quality, right? And if they're a really slick high yellow with the green is distributed also, not just the amount of yellow, but where is the green? Like when they get that green zipper down the back, or man, they're bad.
Those king lines rock my world. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
I was really, really blown. I guess they're coming over here to the States. They're somebody from what I heard is getting them over here.
Oh, good.
Cool. Yeah. So
that person, somebody just posted they bred it to a red neo, a female king line bred to a red neo biog, and I would imagine those are going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
What is the king line? I'm not familiar with.
Guy in Germany, and paired fluke green, just kind of like Damon or the SCZ line back in the day, just paired some stuff up, and these freak high yellows came out, and then he proved it to be heritable. And now a bunch of breeders now over there have his stuff, and they are consistently throwing fire high yellows. Really good looking.
Yep.
From yellow babies?
From yellow babies, yeah.
Have you not seen it yet, Marshall? Have you not seen that king line stuff?
I don't think so. I'll have to look it up.
I'm gonna pull it up right now. So I'm curious though, John. Like, okay, so if there's anything you would add into what you currently have, that would probably be it. You would say that's something like that, or is there anything out there that you have your eyes on?
If I had infinite room, I'd love like an Aru project, you know, and I'd collect world-class ones. But I think, you know, to really do it, I'd need like 4 or 5 animals, you know what I mean? And to really have a nice little group, you know, or a really world-class BIOC project where I was really seeking out sweet ones and not just kind of keeping females around to use as outcrosses. You know, I'd be into that. Or build out my Basin project bigger.
Amen, brother.
They're badass. I love them.
They're
cool.
How far are you out from breeding those?
Mine are completely of age and of size. I just keep putting the male in there. I only have one option, so I just keep putting them in there.
I'm pulling them up.
No interest?
No interest, no.
They came from Ed, right? Oh, wait. Wrong one.
Yeah, both of mine were from Ed.
Why are they doing that? All right, but here's the king line stuff I was telling you about, Marshall. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
classic high yellow looking babies, real brilliant yellow, and then they come out looking a lot like the old OS stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
What were we just talking about right now? I was trying to pull it up and I pulled this up instead. I'm sorry, my brain just farted. What were we just talking about before this?
Well, we were talking about king line stuff.
We were talking about king line.
Yeah, it was right after that though. Like remember right before I pulled this up. Forget it. All right.
We're talking about what John would want to add into his collection, his projects.
Yeah, but there was something else. I was gonna pull it up and I fucking forgot. But, all right, well listen, we're at the point where I gotta get to wrap up topic time. So I'll go first and then we'll hit Marshall or Bill next with their wrap up topic. But for anyone out there wondering, John, like the best approach to buy something from you, right? Like it's because like I said, you got a lot of drooling projects. This game is growing by the day. So what do you have to say to anyone out there who's wondering the best way to acquire one of your snakes?
Well, so it seems mean or whatever, but I don't keep lists. And the reason being is that I've done that in the past. And then I spend my time reaching out to all of these people, and then half of them don't. And I'm waiting for them, and I'm trying to respect the order in which they inquired, and it's just too much. So I don't do that anymore. So you can certainly still reach out to me and express interest, and people that do a nice job of just reaching out and expressing interest and maintaining contact, I'll share with what I've got going on and about when those things will come available. And then you just kind of maintain, and I'll see. I'm not going to post the clutch and sell them all out from under you. You know, if you message me, I'll see the previous messages. I'll see where we've talked about, and anybody that gets shut out, I don't let them have that happen to them again, type thing. You know, so I don't really have a policy around it other than I don't keep lists, and I don't really do a lot of announcing of my clutches until I actually have something, because again, you do a lot of talking about things that don't even exist, and then it could go bad. And you reflect back and you're like, wow, I talked about clutches that didn't even exist for hours, and then they didn't pan out. And so I talk about neonates that exist is what I talk about. And then I will share with people when they're going to be available. And then they just stick in touch with me, and I'll make it happen for those that show genuine sustained interest.
That's a good approach. And I will say, before we get to Bill and Marshall, this is what I wanted to bring up. I forgot. I wanted to show his basins, and I completely brain farted. But yeah, this is the pair that you have, right, John?
Yeah, it's my pair. They were looking like it was like, I'll take a picture of this because surely that's looking like they're getting ready to do good stuff. But no.
And they're from Ed? Or what are the lines of these? I think Steve Volk. No, I can't remember.
No, they're Ed. They're just Ed's Snowflake Blizzard stuff. I don't know what he...
Just Eds. No fucking.
Well, they're bangers. The female is a litter mate to Ed's Christmas. That one you can that's one of his famous. It's the highest white basin he's produced, and that female is her sister. And then that male is a litter mate to Ed's Alien. Now he's produced 3 or 4 of those alien snakes since then, but his first, like the original, the one he actually named Alien, that one is. So mine, are kind of like a poor man, which they're not, but mine are a step down. Alien. If I pull it off, it'd be an alien Christmas pairing, but with not alien and Christmas.
Yeah, there's some serious potential there for sure.
Potent. This shit's no joke right here. Damn.
I hope so.
And I know it's really hard to determine what the size are via pics, because I can't really tell. But I mean, is it a big male, or is the male pretty, like, you know, what's the size of the male? Because that's how I'm going to determine what the size of this female is.
Well, my female is. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, okay, you want to go from the male?
Yeah, how big's the male?
He's probably 500, 600 grams. Because
from the picture, it looks like they're not too different in size, like not too much. They look.
She's 1,700 grams.
She's 1,700 grams.
Yeah, wow. And I can't. These guys, they don't weigh. They don't weigh. But I'm trying to, do I have enough size on her? And the only person that said anything is Steve Volk told me. He's like, well, I don't breed them until they cross over the 1,500 gram mark. And I was like, well, I'm there. Now, I know a lot of people push them bigger than that, but is that needed or not? I doubt it. I think my girl is 6 years old and 1,700 grams. And
I think I'm no expert, never bred Basin, so I'm talking out of my ass maybe, but these bitches I feel like got to be big, bro. I don't know. Marshall's bred them. You could talk on it, Marshall. You feel like
big. I mean, I've never actually weighed an adult, but now that you mentioned this, I don't have an adult female Basin right now, but I've got an adult female cross that is, I don't know. She's one of the bigger snakes in the room. I'm curious to see. She's got to be double or triple the size of my biggest chondro. So she's probably
over 2,000 grams, I'm sure.
Yeah, she may very well be. Yeah.
Yeah, and mine may just need another year. Mine's kind of got a fucked up vent, and so I'm kind of like trying to not. I'm sorry, it's got a kink, you know, and I don't know, like.
Whoa! Time out! Where kink? Where?
Near the vent. It's unfortunate.
Oh, down there. Oh,
not that. I'm not saying that Ed sold it, but Ed told me I should have used textured perches and done some different things. And
don't get Bill started.
I was keeping them like a damn chondro, and so I don't know if that's what caused it or not. But anyway, I'm left with this to deal with, and so I've got to delicately get this weight on her. And that's okay. I got a lot of snakes in the room, and I'm patient. I'm just slow cooking this. My goal is to succeed, not rush and fail.
No, you can't. I mean, because especially with emeralds, and I could talk from experience now. It's terrible. You don't, even if you do everything right, it can still go really wrong. You know what I mean? And it's very unfortunate sometimes. But yeah, man, keep us posted with that. I'm rooting for you on that Basin project because, like Marshall said, there's some crazy potential in those pairings for sure.
Yeah, and if I can get them, then I would trade with people and
yeah, for sure. That's the best part.
Get together like 2 or 3 more and then have a nice little project on my hands.
All right, Bill or Marshall, who wants to go next with their wrap-up topic? Question.
Go ahead, Marshall.
So where do you see the green tree python market going? Obviously, there's a lot of people that seem to be having success. I mean, it seemed like last year there was a pretty good amount of people that had success. Saw a lot of, interesting, cool babies produced. Nobody seemed to have trouble selling them. Where do you see it going? Like how, if you have 4 or 5 clutches, I'm going to have 30 something babies. Bill could have, 1 million babies this year. Like what do you think the market, how big is the chondro market going to be before
it becomes ball pythons?
I'm not going to say that they're going to be like ball pythons where they're going to be they're overproduced and there's too many of them, but
saturation.
Yeah. I mean, how many, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah,
well, I was thinking about this earlier. During the COVID thing, the demand was high and there was a lot of people jumping in. But if I reflect now, I don't think a lot of the people that jumped in really rose up to be, sophisticated, got their stuff together breeders. No. Maybe 1 or 2 new breeders on the scene that seem like that they've got staying power, you know what I mean, and that they're serious and committed. So, you know, I thought about that, and then I also thought about this. Like, I've never been through an economic downturn in my working career. I guess I did. Like when I was a kid, right out of college, actually got laid off in like '08 or whatever. But it was a kid job, so much so that I didn't even think about it when I was just telling you this. But in my real adult career, this potential downturn that people keep talking about would be the first one in my serious adult working career. But I have gone through and seen a downturn in chondros before in '08 or I was keeping chondros in '05. So, and man, in '08 or '09, the sales did slump, and I remember stuff was going for real cheap, and the high yellow stuff and the yellow neonates. Sorry guys, hate to be a hater on y'all, but those things suffered the most, and we're going for really low pricing, and the really ultra high end blue and the calico stuff remained untouched. You know, it always found a buyer. So.
Were they doing like buy red neo, get yellow neo free, or like what were they like? I'm just curious what kind of deals they had over there.
Well, I mean, high yellow chondros, man, like OS high yellows. Back in the day, there was like these Mayan Sun OS high yellow, and I don't know, Sandro produced a clutch that was just really, really epic. I think Andrew Kelly did as well back then, a real high yellow pair from his girl. Her name was Flowers.
Nice.
Anyway, and those babies were going for like $700 to $900. And I'm talking about, they were from the most banging high yellow adults. So it was just a completely different deal, you know, and the low end was $700 and $900. The mid tier was $2,000, and the upper end was $4,000 and $5,000. And now there just seems to be a lot of people. There's a lot of mid tier snakes that got to masquerade as high end snakes during those 4 or 5 years of COVID.
Damn.
You know what I mean? And that don't really deserve that 5 and 6 and that big high end price tag. So you may see some reorganization of the market in that regard. I don't know, but I believe that chondros are better than I think you'll see less volatility in chondros than you do in other reptiles, I think.
Well, yeah, I would just add one thing to what John said, and you know, John and Marshall have both been around this a lot longer than I have, and I've only seen the chondro market, if you want to call it that, go up. I haven't seen the lull. But the one difference is that, you know, there are very few people out there that have the ability to, let's use the number 100 chondros a year, right? Which is an incredibly large number of animals that would be produced. There's very few people out there that have the ability to not only produce that number, but to take the time to establish 100 babies. To establish 100 chondro babies is it's a 40-hour-a-week job. So I think for that reason alone, you know, you're not going to get even if the popularity rose to ball python level, you'll never get the production. I don't think. I can't see it happening.
I mean, I don't think that many people have it in them.
Maybe I'm wrong, you know, but I just think that the work required to establish 100 babies, you know, is, unless you're doing it full time, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, facts. All right, Bill, why don't we end it with you and your wrap up question for John?
Yeah, John, I know, you know, you work with heavily blue line stuff. You work with melanistic stuff. You work with calico stuff. Can you talk about maybe some of the synergy in those different animals? I mean, particularly blue and black stuff. Like, that's my level of interest, you know, producing blue, me mainly melanistic stuff, but I'm starting to be able to put some melanistic stuff in with some blue line stuff. What, in your experience, what have you seen in the results or potential results of that?
Yeah, I think a lot of the black stuff. Now, back in the day, we used to have these like Von Myriop mite phase snakes, but those never proved heritable enough to to ever kind of get beyond just that. You know what I mean? Just some speckling. But
They're
within
really
the blue line and the calico lines, you know, we're not talking green snakes with a few black specks on them. It just seems to be as a byproduct of breeding for blue, there's a melanistic gene in there. And then there have been some animals along the way that have just popped up so freakishly outrageous, and, you know, that they could be considered a founder animal, you know, like Darth Sid or Ella Diablo or Mr. Black or Obi Jr. And then you could almost build projects around these animals. And so, but they were results of breeding for calico blood, you know, and Maxwell's first calicos were kind of more yellow leaning. And then he got Cal Jr. and then the calico line. Again, I don't think the calico line really is associated with any particular color. I consider it like spark. You know, it's just the fire. And it'll throw excitement and energy into, like, you can have incredible. There's nothing more incredible than a calico high yellow or a calico high black, or you know what I mean. And so that's like this really volatile thing, and it's a derivative of the blue line. So this blue line spurred off all these kind of spin-off high black stuff and all these, and then even the calico could be considered a spin-off of the blue line. So it's all connected. And then they pair really well together. Like the blue line's been developed for years in this direction. And then, you know, the calico thing has kind of been selected for these multicolored pixelated things and then brought back together. And we saw that when I think they did Mr. Black to Blue Pepper or whatever. And that's where you got Prince and I think Obi Jr., right?
OB Jr. came from, you know, I'd have to look up the pedigree. I remember, yeah.
But blue line and black, the calico to blue line has proven to be a nice combo.
Yeah, I agree. You can't go wrong calico with, you know, with anything, whether it's high yellow, high blue, high black.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
Biak, even. Anything.
Right.
Anything across.
Well, right. And Marshall and Dave have both paired it with, remember you pulled up that you said, man, that thing is yellow. That one was a TSK Tiger Stripe bred to calico from Dave. So that's calico. I mean, you know, so it's just a fun bloodline to work with. But that doesn't mean you don't want to also work some blue line stuff to the side. You know what I mean? Your melanin. It's all great. It's all fun and it all ties together. And I think that that's kind of what I'm doing, really. You know, I'm bleeding blue projects, calico projects, and melanistic projects, and then mashups. Just searching for those freaks. You know, I'm trying to maintain a genetic pool of the blue over here that I don't fuck up, and a little pool of the yellow over here. But then I'm also really trying to. I mean, I want like. You know, like we were talking about those high yellow snakes with the green zipper down, where the green is really concentrated in the dorsal. What if that was like super blue quality blue on a yellow snake? You know, so I'm just trying to hunt for.
Or what about super black with a total massive blue dorsal stripe like that, right?
Yeah, and yellow flanks down its sides or something, you know. So
this kind of level of breeding reminds me of like those artists that fucking have a huge canvas and there's like 100 people behind them and they're just standing there and they just go. Paint, and they're standing there, and then he goes, "It's done," and everyone's like, "Oh my god!"
That would be the
and chondros have proven that they're infinite. Like it is a cool thing. You won't ever.
No, they're the
There's
best.
always new versions, and there's no best. It's just a new configuration, and it's cool.
And
it can go on forever.
The best is yet to come. Like we haven't seen shit yet. I feel like it's gonna get more insanely fucking nuts. And that's what I love about it, you know. And I was very caught in between emeralds and chondros, but after what emeralds did to me recently, I'm fucking team chondros so I die, man. I love it. I'm a happier place.
I think people are getting better at breeding them, and I think getting the Nido thing under control will help some of these iconic males stick around a little longer. You know what I mean? You're right. I think the next 10 years of green tree pythons, when you can put, like back in the day, there just weren't so many. Yeah. They were all messed up and stuff. Man, when you can put like just the most incredible snakes together, wow, what are we going to get?
Don't all you guys think we're going to see a lot more iconic females too? Because, you know, you guys hear that a lot of the males are the more crazier ones, but don't you feel like that's going to maybe change also? Like there's going to be a lot more females that are going to be just as crazy as the males?
I'll let Bill, Marshall.
Bill or Marshall, any of you guys, yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, I don't know why there'd be a difference, honestly.
Well, they say that normally the crazier one are the males, right, Bill? Like, isn't that it wasn't something like
that's been my experience that the crazier phenotypes have been males.
I heard that elsewhere too. So, but yeah, listen, John, great episode, man. I appreciate it. Obviously, we're gonna see you here again sometime. But for now, best place for people to follow you would be Instagram, you would say, or
Instagram and Facebook. Those are the two.
Because you do have a Facebook page, right? Obviously, Mid-Atlantic Arboreals on Facebook, or no?
Mm-hmm. And on there, it's got like your contact info and my email and my phone numbers on there. You're welcome to text me or email me and ask me questions about my pairings, or reach out just through Messenger or Instagram or whatever.
Well, it's been a freaking real pleasure, my man. I appreciate it, guys. Please go give him a follow. You can find all the links to his social media plugs in the description below. But give it up. It's a wrap for John Irby, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, John,
for having me.
Thanks, John.
As always, appreciate it. It was a great conversation tonight.
Keep killing it, John.
Likewise.
We'll talk to you. Cheers, buddy. Peace.
See ya.
Great episode.
Yeah.
I want John Irby problems, man. Obviously, no, hold on. I take that back because he had some serious problems that he fixed, obviously, and that's what makes him today. But I meant his current today problems. I want his current today problems, John Irby.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like he's having too many
I
problems.
was going to say,
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Thank you for connecting those dots there, Marshall. But yeah, the guy just seems like he's fucking killing it, and he's having a good time doing it, you know. And I think that's what it's all about. That's what comes with time and, you know, figuring things out, right, guys?
Yeah, he's been in the game 25 years or whatever, you know.
25 years, bro.
So yeah, I mean that's what you should expect to happen in 25 years of sticking with it, the goods, the bads. You know, that's what will happen.
Yep. And like Marshall said before the show started, for someone to go through what he went through and not actually throw in the towel, you know, and fucking rise above that, like that. You even said that's something that you probably couldn't see yourself doing, right, Marshall?
I mean, I don't think so. You know, you never know until you're in that spot. But man, like, what a pain that would be. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That's like nightmare scenario.
He's arisen from the ashes, much like the phoenix.
That was good, Bill.
That's right.
That was epic. All right, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys so much. Can't wait for next week. Guys, do me a favor. Follow Marshall Mendez. It's a must. Red Mountain Herbs. And, of course, Phoenix Reptiles. Subscribe to that Instagram subscription. It's so worth it. And I appreciate you, Bill. But it's a wrap. Red Mountain Herbs, Phoenix Reptiles. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, guys. We'll
See you guys.
See you next week.
You guys are awesome. Have a good night, man. Thank you. Good episode. I appreciate all of you guys so much. If you thought tonight's episode was worth a like or a subscribe, please do the both. It really means a lot. All right. Also, drop a comment in the comment section what you liked best out of each episode. And also, don't forget, Trap Talk Reptile Network is 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday. All right. So get that schedule down. Lock it in. And also, let's hear a word from our sponsors before we let you guys go tonight. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. When you think about building a good community and being a leader of that community, nobody comes to mind better than Mark Hager over at Texas Chondros. That's right. Make sure you head over to TX Chondros on Instagram and also head over to Mark's website. See what he has available green tree python wise and be ready for quite the 2025 green tree python breeding season out of Mark Hager. He's a veteran in the green tree python game, one of the best and nicest breeders in the green tree python game. He's been putting on the whole state of Texas for as long as I've known him. So if you want to see all the amazing other chondro keepers out of the state of Texas, another good reason to go follow Mark Hager over at TX Chondros on Instagram. And again, head over to his website, texaschondros.com. You can find all the links in the description below. Thank you so much, Mark Hager, for supporting the trap. Tree. Green tree pythons, emerald tree boas, and plenty other arboreal snakes have been quite the popularity here at the Trap Talk Reptile Network, which brings me to today's sponsor, the Reptile Perch. Head over to the reptileperch.com and Reptile Perch on Instagram. See what type of design PVC perch is best for your arboreal reptile. But first and foremost, I would also check out David Brom's Green Tree Python availability on the website. And you can also check out his Instagram just to stay current on any projects or any productions that he posts. Thank you so much, David Broms, for your ongoing support. Looking forward to seeing what you have to show in the 2025 season. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. Diversity when it comes to a reptile diet, I feel like, is so important. So this is why I'm proud to announce today's sponsor, Blake Exotic Feeders over in Florida. If you want the #1 quail sent to your doorstep and, more importantly, fed to your reptile, no better company than to go to than Blake Exotic Feeders. Blake can get anywhere from day 1 quail all the way up to extra large quail sent to your doorstep. #1 quality in quail, hands down. And I gotta tell you, my reptiles love it just as much. It'll give me a peace of mind to know that these quail are grown on his property and it's not bought third party. Head over to his website, Blake Exotic Animal Ranch, to place your order, or you could just hit him up directly on Instagram. His name's Blake, real nice guy. Follow his Instagram, Blake Exotic Feeders. Let him know that the trap sent you and he'll take extra good care of you. Thank you so much, Blake, for supporting the trap, and also thank you so much for sending me top quality homegrown quail for my animals. One of the things I love about being a part of the reptile industry is all the learning, okay? Learning can be fun, and I can prove that to you. Thank you so much to today's sponsor, it's Gary Scavino over at GS Reptiles. I highly recommend you head over to his YouTube channel, follow all this man's content when it comes to learning about rare species of snakes you could be keeping in the hobby, and also just finding out how easy a lot of these rare species of snakes are to keep in general. So thank you so much, Gary Scavino of GS Reptiles. Again, head over to his YouTube channel. Also head over to his Instagram to be on top of all of his current work and be ready for a big year over at GS Reptiles. Thank you so much, Gary, for your ongoing support. I really appreciate it. Cheers.